All right, we're talking about Parfums Dusita today. Who's a fan of this house? It's a deep dive video. I'm going to talk to you about all of their fragrances today. Talk to you a little bit about the woman behind the brand, the perfumer Pisara, and also, if you're nearby or planning on being in the San Francisco Bay Area and you want to meet Pisara, she is visiting ZGO Perfumery on Saturday, January 31st from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So there is a event there for Parfums Dusita. So again, if you're around and you've never met Pisara, the perfumer behind the brand, the founder of the brand, this is your chance to meet her here in Northern California at ZGO Perfumery. So let me know your thoughts on the brand. When did you first discover the brand? I do want to say we featured Fleur de Lalita in one of my original Scent Club kits. Also, we featured various other fragrances in different mystery boxes. Like most recently, we featured Tonka Latte in a mystery box. And I think Tonka Latte has become probably the biggest seller for the brand. So let's get started with the list. There's fragrances here that I'm very familiar with, and then there's a few that I might not be very familiar with. There's also one exclusive fragrance for a retailer in Europe, and I'll get to it. It's actually our second fragrance. All right, the first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is ANAMCARA, this one right here. So ANAMCARA is a white floral powdery thing, and I feel like it also has a little bit of the DNA of Moonlight and Chiang Mai in it. But what I get with ANAMCARA is a lot of tuberose and maybe a little bit of orange blossom. They work really wonderfully together. But there's definitely something very powdery happening here. And it's this powdery, almost musky touch that I pick up from Moonlight and Chiang Mai. But it's definitely very white floral forward. It's almost like the white flowers. I mean, there's orange blossom here and tuberose too. I feel like it's a nice balance. Neither one stands out, so you almost wonder which note it is that you're smelling more prominently. But it's almost like a fusion of the two types of notes together. I mean, yeah, the orange blossom and the tuberose. But in the end, there's a slight reminder of Moonlight and Chiang Mai, and I think it came out somewhat after when Moonlight and Chiang Mai was released. So maybe there's some DNA spillover because there's something familiar about it. It might not even be Moonlight and Chiang Mai, but for some reason it reminds me of that a little bit, but with the addition of the white flowers. So that is ANAMCARA, the first fragrance we're talking about. And then I'm talking about a fragrance that she did in collaboration with a retailer in Budapest called 7 Scents. It's called Blue Danube. So it's not a marine fragrance. To me, it's kind of warm, ambery, resinous. It's the presentation for Dusita, by the way, in case you're curious. So that is the Dusita 7 Scents Blue Danube collaboration. So with this one, it's very warm and ambery, but I get chocolate. It's quite glossy. And I also pick up something slightly fruity in here, but I get the idea of chocolate and patchouli together, kind of in a very lacquered, glossy texture. But in the end, it's quite warm and spicy. There's like warm spices featured here and lots of ambery, resinous touches as well. Definitely, I think the name kind of tricked me thinking it might be it might be a marine because it has the word blue in it. It's the Blue Danube and all that kind of stuff, but it's definitely not. So those of you that are in Budapest might have an easier chance at getting access to this fragrance. But I don't know if it's sold on the Parfums Dusita website or not. It could be just strictly selling at 7 Scents. But just wanted to highlight it as one of the fragrances that was launched. Also, all these fragrances are linked to ZGO Perfumery. if you're in the market for any of them. Up next, we're doing this in alphabetical order if I didn't mention already. It's CAVATINA. I remember this actually wasn't this color, the juice. I thought it was a little lighter, but it's gotten quite orangey. So this one to me, I remember when this launched, to me, it's focusing on Lily of the Valley. So it's quite fresh and green, lightly hinting at fragrances like Diorissimo, because that's a Lily of the Valley bomb. And also powdery too here, quite powdery. But it's gorgeous. It's quite gorgeous. Lily of the Valley is an acquired taste. There's a whole video on the channel of Lily of the Valley fragrances if you haven't watched it and are curious about it. To me, it smells like spring. It's a spring floral note. And from what I've done, my research saying that they can't really extract it from the flowers. They have to recreate it with, various flowers. It's an accord, basically. But it's quite gorgeous here. Super fresh, very green, quite floral, and also powdery as well. It's an elegant fragrance. That's CAVATINA from Parfums Dusita. Up next, it's ERAWAN. So ERAWAN launched with the fragrance that I'm going to talk about right after this, Fleur de Lalita. And instantly, I was drawn to Fleur de Lalita. ERAWAN, over the years, has grown on me. But there was something not challenging as in an animalic way. There was something in it that my nose didn't like. And I think it's the hay note. But I feel like this is a fairly popular fragrance for the house, I should say. It's kind of a green hay, maybe chocolatey something. It's developing nicely, but there's something a little off-putting for my nose that I have a hard time with. I don't know what it is. And from speaking to Pisara, the perfumer for the fragrances, she has mentioned that this is a fougere. It's not your conventional fougere, honestly. But I think the structure might be a fougere, but it's not your typical, gang of notes to create a typical like fougere style. Because she does have a real fougere here called Issara, which I'll get to. And she also has Pelagos, one of her more recent fragrances, that's also more of a modern fougere that I like. But for some reason, I don't have a very pleasant experience with ERAWAN. I don't know why. If you're a fan of ERAWAN, let me know. Add a comment below. Tell us what you like about it. And if you don't like it, add a comment and let us know why you don't like it. But up next is my favorite fragrance of the house. It's Fleur de Lalita. And I remember when I first smelled this, and it wasn't even launched yet. It was at Pitti Fragranza in Florence. And I can't remember I think it was in 2017. And she presented both Fleur de Lalita and ERAWAN. And there I was like, wow, this is so gorgeous. It's white flowers. It's floral notes, green floral notes. And there's actually galbanum in here. And there's also patchouli. So it's got a really sexy dry down. It's definitely one of the best floral fragrances. And it smells like spring to me. I love that about it. Spring floral notes. The idea of spring is super prominent here. And in total love with this fragrance. Still to this day. We featured that in our 5th Scent Club kit. Going back like almost 3 years. It was May of 2023. Yeah. But I love it. It's great. And it's also fresh, so you can wear it liberally. It's not going to overwhelm. There are some light classic touches to it, but it's done in a very modern way. So that is Fleur de Lalita. Super awesome scent from Dusita. Let me know if you're a fan. This is the first fragrance I discovered the brand with. It's Issara. And it's a very... I wouldn't say it's a modern fougere. It's got classic touches, but it's done in a way that maybe the backbone of it might be more modern, because it's your typical fougere structure, and it's kind of like dipped in warm amber honey glaze or something. And it's giving me very much autumnal vibes, because the fougere notes, they're you know, herbs and things like that. I think this is not focusing on lavender. I think it might be sage, or it might be clary sage, but it's quite gorgeous. It gives me the idea of lavender, but to me, from reading the notes breakdown, I think they're not using lavender, or maybe they are, they just don't claim it, because it does act like it to me, and it does smell like a fougere. It does give me a little bit of a vibe of Brut, Fabergé, maybe a little bit of the vibe of sartorial, but with a major amber honeyed warmth that is there. So I would call this like an amber fougere style, because there's a lot of that kind of honeyed amber presence. But when you first smell it, you're reminded, like, because I've worn so much fougères myself, thanks to my dad. He wore them as well. So there's something familiar here. A scent memory appears. And I love that about this fragrance. Definitely a top 5 from the house. This is Issara. Let me know if you've sampled that one. So up next, it's a... Ooh, where did this one go? Oh, no. Never mind. That's not the one I'm talking about. Up next, it's a fragrance called La Douceur de SIAM. So this is also a floral fragrance. There's a lot of floral fragrances here. This is one of the fragrances the brand launched with. This is basically a big bouquet of floral notes, or flowers just come to life. Lots of flowers. There's even rose here. So you've got rose, you've got like all the white flowers. Maybe there's some green flowers thrown in. There's some light spices thrown in. But it's just a very gorgeous bouquet of flowers. It's very pretty. It's very elegant. And it's definitely very feminine. So the brand launched with this fragrance. And there's also Melodie de l'amour. Oh, I'm sorry, no. La Douceur de SIAM came after. The brand launched with Issara, which is an extrait de parfum. Also, Melodie de l'amour, this one, which is an extrait de parfum. And the very polarizing Oudh Infini, which is also an extrait de parfum. So the first 3 fragrances were extrait de parfum. Then they went to eau de parfum. And then she's gone back to doing some extrait de parfums, like this Pelagos is extrait de parfum. But Tonka Latte, which launched earlier last year, is an eau de parfum. So I think, I guess, depending on the fragrance and decisions they make behind the scenes, it's what they decide to launch. But La Douceur de SIAM, wonderful. I think there might even be some fruity notes in there, but super gorgeous. If you're a lover of big bouquet of flowers, you might check that out. It's super elegant. I think it's perfect for a woman to wear on a wedding day. It smells like a wedding to me. I mean, especially for the fact that a wedding, you've got big bouquets of flowers, but typically the flowers don't smell anymore because they're not the kind of flowers that are scent, like with real scent, or they usually do, but the farmed flowers don't usually smell, at least not super strong. But the next fragrance we're talking about is La Rhapsodie Noire. So I think this is when Dusita was starting to dabble in gourmands. So there's some gourmand touch here. I think this comes off kind of bready, slightly sweet, maybe slightly vanillic, doughy, but not going into the super gourmand territory. So it's for someone that likes gourmands, that wants light gourmand, light sweetness, but there's spices in there and things like that. For me, it's a very bready experience. Like the idea of bread comes to mind with this one quite a bit. It's super delicious. I think it was definitely the start of doing more gourmand fragrances and things like that. And I think they accomplished it with the Tonka Latte, but they started really nicely with the La Rhapsodie Noire. And again, I would say this is gourmand light. It's not super gourmand to me. I think for me, bread is a gourmand note, but to me, it doesn't act gourmand as much in comparison to something like caramel or chocolate or, you know, marshmallows or cookies and things like that. So there. Anyway, that's La Rhapsodie Noire from the house of Parfums Dusita. Then we've got Le Pavillon d'Or. I think this is the fig fragrance in the collection. This is also not one of my favorite fragrances, sadly. I mean, it's fig done in a slightly different way. It's not bad. I mean, it just doesn't click with me as much. There's a bitterness, a greenness, spices, woods. Maybe like salt, light, sweet, ambery warmth in there as well. I think that one launched, when did that launch? In like 2019 or 2020? I'm forgetting the dates. I did not write down the dates, unfortunately, here. But yeah, I think this is not bad. I just don't click with it as much as I clicked with some of the other fragrances. I love this next one also that I'm going to talk to you about. It's called Le Sillage Blanc. This is a Chypre style. It's a leathery Chypre style fragrance. I think it's leathery, but it's definitely has a lot of galbanum. Yeah, it's leather and green galbanum together in a very vintage styling. Brings back memories of fragrances like, let's see. Like for me, it reminds me a little bit of Aramis by Aramis. But as I mentioned, there's a female equivalent from Estee Lauder. There's also, a few other fragrances in that kind of Chypre leather green side. It's done really nicely. And if you like these kind of fragrances and you want something more modern, so because some of those older fragrances have been neutered and watered down so much, this is actually acting quite beefy now, like it's new. And those other ones, the classics, have just been neutered so much throughout the years, reformulated. So if you like those kind of fragrances, I highly recommend you try this one. It's definitely a Chypre style. It's a leather, very green. It's a bit smoky, for sure leathery. But the greenness is a nice contrast. That's really good. Le Sillage Blanc from Parfums Dusita. Next, we're going to Melodie de l'Amour. That is this one right here. This is also quite feminine, and this is one of the first fragrances that launched. This is an Extrait de Parfum. The first three are Extrait de Parfums. As I said, we've got Melodie de l'Amour, Issara, and Oudh Infini. This one's also a super gorgeous bouquet. But here, I think they have more green floral notes and maybe some tart, more astringent kind of floral notes in here, or maybe the citruses are creating that effect. But once again, it's quite luscious. Like it's a big bouquet of flowers. Definitely leaning feminine. And I think if I had to pick my favorite between the two super floral fragrances, I'd hands down go with Melodie de l'Amour. It's the kind of fragrance I like as far as floral fragrances go. I think the green floral notes are really prominent here, which is kind of giving a little bit of an astringency. But it's super fresh. There's a creamy like layer under there because of all the white flowers in here. And well, it's also super elegant. Definitely very feminine. I'm not saying it's not, but between the two floral fragrances here, La Douceur de SIAM and Melodie de l'Amour, I much prefer Melodie de l'Amour. I love that. It smells fantastic. But let's go next to the fragrance MONTRI. Who's a fan of MONTRI? So we've got a lot of earthy notes here. There's also there's also patchouli. I think it's patchouli, and there's a rosy quality here. This fragrance comes off soapy, clean and soapy to me. but it's super elegant, I think. Classy with vintage touches. There is something dirty under there I hadn't noticed before. What is that? Very interesting. Is there leather here? Something, yeah, there's something interesting in here. MONTRI is definitely leathery, very warm, spicy. There's patchouli, there's amber, I think, and of course, there's oudie touches. I think that's where we're getting the funk from. There's definitely some funk here. It's not overwhelming, not like Oudh Infini, which is coming up, but most likely MONTRI was to replace Oudh Infini, which got discontinued. I have a hard time with Oudh Infini myself. It's quite potent for a oudie animalic fragrance. It's definitely like, whoa, in your face, like dirty. But this has a little bit of funk, but it has earthy notes, ambery notes. There's warmth and spices and oud and leather. Very nicely done. I think it's a good replacement for Oudh Infini. What do you guys think? MONTRI from Dusita. Up next, we've got Moonlight in Chiang Mai, which I've worn quite a bit because I really love this one. This one actually gives me amber woody touches. So it's woods. There's definitely something citrusy in here. I think it's grapefruit. And there's something under there that's amber woody, powdery, musky, and also a little barbershoppy. So if you like the idea of Tigar, I'm not saying this smells like Tigar, but it gives me the idea of it. It's much more complex. There's definitely the barbershoppy idea here. It is more of a masculine offering. And of course, there's a little bit of the idea of Tigar because there's the grapefruit and there's amber woody touches and woods in here. And I find it to be super sexy. I absolutely love this fragrance. It's definitely become one of my favorites. It's a bit more simplistic, but in the heat, it shines. So that's Moonlight in Chiang Mai. I absolutely love this. It might even be my second favorite from the house. So good. So gorgeous. All right. Next up, we've got the bad boy, Oudh Infini. All right. This house is not a huge number. Doesn't have a huge number of fragrances, obviously. Ooh, yeah. Oudh Infini. It's a very polarizing. Whew. I can't wear this fragrance. There's no way. And I think it's discontinued. I mean, it's oud. I think it's a little bit of rose. Maybe there's some spices and ambery notes. But the oud is so super strong, so in your face, so dirty, fecal. Whew. No way. No way I'm putting this one on. I mean, I wear the Night from Frederick Malle, which is super expensive. It doesn't come off as fecal and dirty as this one does. My God, this is pretty intense. I don't know if this is still selling. Maybe there might be stock out there. Check it out. But if you're into the idea of a very animalic oud fragrance, try Oudh Infini. Up next, it's Pelagos, which launched last year. The year before, they launched Tonka Latte. This is also a fougere style, but it's very fresh. There are like marine touches and green touches, but it doesn't come off like cologne heavy. It's a very pleasant fragrance for the guys. It's definitely fougere style, but you're not going to say this is a fougere because it doesn't smell like a typical fougere. Issara, on the other hand, does smell like a typical fougere with that kind of ambery warmth that is, prominent there with the honey. But this is different. It's spicy, it's aquatic, not marine for me. There's some green touches in here. There's lots of woods and, of course, aromatics. And I think it even has a little bit of something more on the ambery, direction as well. I quite like that. Not top 5. Well, maybe it is. We'll get to the ranking in a little bit, but let me know if you're a fan of Pelagos. And then we've got Rosarine. Typical of the name Rosarine, rose. This is featuring rose. Yeah. I think this is in the style of a Rose Chypre fragrance. And this one also has earthy notes like patchouli. It's super sexy. And it's got a soapy characteristic too. It's like a clean. I think it's coming from the combination of the rose and the patchouli together. Sometimes rose comes off kind of like soapy to me. And I like that I could wear that soapy. The fact that I get soapy from it, it's a pretty intense fragrance. But the fact that I get soapy from it, it would smell great in the heat. Soapy fragrances in the heat for me are somewhat subconsciously cleaning. So I quite like the way that smells. It's really, really wonderful. The rose and patchouli always works wonderfully together. I personally like rose and patchouli much more than rose and oud. They really play off of each other and make a fragrance smell quite fantastic. I prefer rose with patchouli more than just rose. And this is really fantastic. So that's Rosarine from the house of Parfums Dusita. We've got 2 more fragrances left. We've got Splendiris. This to me smells iris and violets together. Slightly green, very powdery, a bit vegetal, but super gorgeous if you're into iris and violet notes. Of course, there's some woods in there and some spices thrown in, and of course some sweetness. It's not super vegetal. Not one of my favorites from the house. It's not a bad fragrance. It's not like the one that really calls me. But I think if you are into... It's very carroty now that I've been smelling it for a bit. There's definitely a very powdery, carroty texture here. Great. Any iris lovers, violet lovers should definitely get their nose on Splendiris. Last but not least, the latest fragrance from the house is Tonka Latte. Let's see what they're going to launch this year. But before I talk about this one, go catch my video I shot with Pisara at the show TFWA in Cannes. And she was talking about their next fragrances, and she was having me smell some mods, meaning they're like test fragrances. And usually when you're working on a new fragrances, the perfumer gives you mods, variations on the briefs. So she's the perfumer, so she had a few mods that she was working on, so she presented them. So you can go find out in that video and see which mods I was favoring. I think she had 4 in that video, but we'll see what they launch this year. But this is Tonka Latte, the latest fragrance from the house. To me, it's a super creamy, nutty, vanillic, milky, lactonic gourmand. This isn't for the person that doesn't like super sweet fragrances, because it is super sweet. It's also super creamy, lactonic, as I said, very almondy, and tonka is prominent. And I think this also has white chocolate, so the creaminess is intensified with the milkiness. It's so super silky smooth. If you like I mean, if you've ever melted chocolate or maybe white chocolate and you like that texture, that consistency, you really get that here with Tonka Latte. Because I used to melt chocolate all the time and whip it up with the, when it was all creamy. And I like that texture quite a bit. And you really are wearing that here with Tonka Latte. So that's Tonka Latte, the last fragrance from the house. And the latest fragrance from the house. All right, so I'm going to rank the list. I'm going to put this one aside because it's not something that is normally selling. So the 7 Cents Blue Danube collaboration is put away. But I want to put my favorites here, and I'll give you a nice ranking. So I'm going to give you a top 10, and let me see. So that is number 1. That is number 2. It's number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Oh, wait. I got to put that somewhere. Almost there. Let me, while you're waiting for me to tell you what my favorites are, why don't you write down what your favorites are? Maybe give me a top 5 or a top 10. But all right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got a top 10 here. Starting at number 10, we're going with Pelagos. Pelagos is that very modern fougere that's kind of marine aquatic, but green and spicy and maybe like lightly woody and ambery. So we're starting off with Pelagos as number 10. La Rhapsodie Noire at number 9. This is a kind of bready gourmand. Not super sweet, but definitely gourmand. That is number 9. Number 8, MONTRI. This is the oud, the rose, amber, patchouli, slightly animalic, and I think it was to replace Oudh Infini. Oudh Infini is not listed on this top 10. Le Sillage Blanc. Yes, it's the kind of vintage style fragrance that kind of reminds me of Aramis by Aramis and its equivalent. And one sec, I'm going to get the video it reminds me of. So it reminds me a little bit of Aramis by Aramis, as I said, but most importantly, Cabochard. Cabochard, there's some similarities to it, but these fragrances have been reformulated. Both of them have been created by the same perfumer, but as cheap alternatives, they're fine. But if you want them going back to the way they used to be, that's what's good about Le Sillage Blanc, because they've kept the intensity of how these fragrances were. So Le Sillage Blanc is at number 7. Melodie de l'Amour is at number 6. It's quite a gorgeous floral bouquet, and definitely my favorite over La Douceur de SIAM. Melodie de l'Amour. Rosarine, the soapy rose patchouli combo is super sexy, chypre-like. Definitely one that I could wear over and over again. And then that's at number 5. Number 4, it's Issara. Issara is that very classic fougere barbershop-y fragrance that's like, covered in kind of a glazing of warm honeyed amber. Super autumn-like, but very fougere. I would call that an amber fougere. So at number 3, it's Tonka Latte. And of course, Tonka Latte is super delicious. Really love it. I had a hard time with top 3. I can interchange these, but really great smelling, nutty, almondy, milky, lactonic, creamy gourmand. Super sweet though, just to be giving you a heads up. So that's Tonka Latte. Moonlight and Chiang Mai at number 2. I almost switched it around. Moonlight and Chiang Mai, again, as I was explaining, there's something amber woody, musky, like ambroxan-like presence in here, and they claim there isn't anything like that. Maybe it's my nose tricking me, but there's a lot of citruses here and woods, and also a bit of a barbershop-y presence. So it's got a very masculine vibe. I quite like it. So I'm not saying it smells like Tigar. It's kind of got a similar idea to Tigar and the presence of something barbershop-y. So check it out if you like that kind of a thing. It's definitely really great. And then number one, the usual suspect, it's Fleur de Lalita. Absolutely love this fragrance. I find it to be super sexy. It's a green floral with a kind of a earthy patchouli presence, and delicious enough to feature in a scent club kit, and still can't get enough of it. I love green floral fragrances, and it reminds me of spring. And so that is definitely the ultimate in green floral fragrances for spring. And we featured it in a scent club kit spring of 2023. So that's the number one fragrance, Fleur de Lalita. And that's the rest of the video, or the end of the video, I should say. Don't forget to, if you're nearby, don't forget to come and meet Pisara at ZGO Perfumery. And it's on Saturday, January 31st from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I should be there. So maybe I could meet you if you haven't met yet. I haven't been to an event there in ages. In fact, I haven't been to a fragrance event in a long time. I think by the time that event happens, there's also going to be an announcement. I probably would have made the announcement on the channel already because I'm working towards it. But I can tell you in person as well if and when you come. It doesn't involve Dusita, but I'll be there. If I'm there, I'll let you know what this awesome announcement is, the project that I've been working on. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and also click the bell icon so you'll be notified for all future videos. And please give a thumbs up for this video so that it'll help with the algorithm. See you guys later. Bye-bye.